Hi, my name is Jay Osa. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so that they can give winning high stakes speeches, whether it's one on one in a job interview or in front of a small group at a business or sales meeting or before a large audience at a conference. Today I want to give you a simple job interview tip. And this is like the first thing that ever happens. You send your resume and you hear from the HR manager or HR personnel, and he or she wants to schedule an interview with the manager. What do you do? And I ran into this situation with one of my client. This client that I'm working with is highly qualified. I mean, he's got super qualification. And he called me and said, "What do I do?" And his issue is that he's so qualified in what he does, but he still doesn't get the job. And it has nothing to do with his qualification, it's the interview. The interview is what's preventing him from getting the job. And he had an interview with another big company, and he didn't set the right expectation. And some junior level person met with him, and the feedback he gave him was that he wasn't technical enough, which makes no sense. This guy has so many degrees and he's technical, believe me. So he's got another interview with another big company. So I said, let's do something different. I said, what I would like to do is, first of all, there is a difference between a technical interview and a technical test or a quiz. I said, if you're going to get a technical quiz, you're not going to do well because you can't study for a quiz. You're working, you got experience now. So that's just not what you want to do. A technical interview is fair because you have worked in technology, you have degrees, you have done research. So you can discuss that. That's a technical interview. And if the person can't determine based on that whether you're a fit, then perhaps they have to explain to you why you're not a fit. Okay. So I said, what you need to do is don't get on the phone and have a technical, so called technical interview, and then it turns into an interrogation or a test. I said, that's not an interview. An interview is you want to be able to determine based on what you have done whether there is something there for any kind of an alignment or a potential fit that you need to do further due diligence. That's what a technical interview is. So I said, send them the agenda. Simple agenda. First, put down that the manager is going to have to explain to you what is the job. I said, don't worry about the job description. I said, the job description is the job description. Nobody can remember that. Let him explain to you on the phone what exactly is the job based on what he considers as important. And the three success factors for a candidate. And the third question is, who is their ideal candidate? Because today companies do not hire unless they find their ideal candidate. Once you have that, the second part of the agenda is where you will talk about the, the specific work that you have done that is of interest to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking to you, right? Go into that, tie in the success factors that the manager mentioned. And then the third part is come to some sort of an alignment, saying, okay, I see the job, you described it, here's what I have done. Now let's see, what do we have in common? Is there enough in common for us to move forward? And I said, that's all that call should be. But make it very clear. Because if you don't set the agenda, then there is no agenda. Then it's a free for all. They could ask you any kind of questions and you don't have any control. You got to narrow the scope of the interview. Just like if you're a project, you narrow the scope. When you have the technical interview, you got to narrow the scope. Once it goes outside that, you've lost control. Get control of the interview at all stages. You cannot just show up and saying, "Hey, I'm just going to give you a technical interview." Find out. Here's the agenda. Here's what I want to discuss. If this is okay with you, let's talk. If not, don't talk. There's no point in getting on a call for the sake of getting on the call. Not only you're not going to get the job, but then you're going to feel like you got rejected when you shouldn't have been rejected. You had no chance. So I wanted to share that with you because a lot of people that I come across are really struggling when it comes to interviews. And the ones that don't struggle, they don't even know why they got the job. They just feel like, wow, I had just super qualification. Sometimes, companies will hire you because they need to fill a position. It had nothing to do with how well you interview. But when you're dealing with the companies that are big and they really don't need to hire, and I'm talking about these big companies like Google, Microsoft, you name it, Amazon, these big companies, they really don't need to hire folks. They say they're hiring all these people. No. When it comes to a strategic technical job, they don't need to hire. In fact, Jeff Bezos once said that I'd rather you interview 50 candidates before you find the right candidate, that ideal candidate. So you got to know, what is the ideal candidate? And if you're not an ideal candidate, or if you cannot get the manager to see that you are the ideal candidate, you're not getting the job. I'll tell you that right away. You're not getting the job. These companies are hard-coded in what they're looking for. You got to set the agenda and see if you're closer or if you are the ideal candidate. If you're not and you continue with the process, then you're going to become the sucker candidate, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, think about this, because this looks kind of simple, like, well, what's the big deal about it? But it's a big deal because when you get on a call, you've got to know what the agenda is. And if you're not setting the agenda, then you're going to be the victim of somebody else's agenda. Set the agenda, and I bet you're going to do well. Let me know if you have any question. Thank you for watching, and good luck.